Well, today we're releasing 4 koalas that were rescued from my property.
We try and always return the koalas to their capture tree just because they've got distinct home ranges, so we want them to, feel that they're back in their home.
For this project we really want to know how the koalas are doing in the landscape after the fire.
So we are looking at how koalas survive in this bush, and they are finding the odd unburnt tree. They are starting to use some of the new growth, but we're also showing that rehabilitated koalas haven't lost their bush skills and are equally surviving out there in a very challenging environment.
So today they're having a pre-release health check, so we have a look at them under anaesthetic, make sure that they're fit for release, that they're strong, that they've gained the amount of weight we want them to gain, that they've grown enough to be released, to be good weight to be released. And then we get a series of samples that helps us understand their health status and what's happening in the wild.
So we've got our animals that have been rehabilitated, that are going back into the burnt landscape. We've also got some animals that never came into care, that stayed out in the landscape, and we're checking on them as well. We want to make sure that the rehabilitated animals integrate back into the population okay, and see, if they're all using the same parts of the landscape that they would have been before.
So we use this very high-tech bubble wrap to act as an insulation for the animals, because we're doing anaesthetics in winter and it's a bit colder, and it's really important they stay warm through the anaesthetic. So she's a really strong female because she's got a joey on board, so we're just sorting ourselves out to give her the sedative.
Jessie's joey is, must be just between 5 and 6 months old now. So she was pregnant when she came in during the bushfires.
Jessie, the adult female, we thought she wasn't going to make it. She was very, very thin and had a low body temperature. The vet actually had to warm her up at the vet. She almost died.
Were the burns bad, or it wasn't so
No,
much
she
the
was
burns,
starved to
it was-
death post-fire.
Okay.
So she was very thin just due to the fact there's not much leaf out there. Like if you look at that hill behind us, there's very few trees on that have got any leaf on them at all. Like a lot of those trees are dead. One of the veterinary checks that we do is, the vets do, is an ultrasound, looking for signs of active chlamydia, which can thicken the bladder lining, and that's why they call it wet bottom, because the bladder lining gets thickened and they can't hold much urine, and so they start to drip and they stain the fur on the rump, so that's why it gets that name of wet bottom. When they were doing that ultrasound, they found out she was pregnant. A rare chance to get ultrasound footage of a koala pregnancy, because they're only pregnant for 34 days before the little tiny koala crawls out and climbs into the pouch and attaches itself to a nipple. So we thought that joey mightn't have survived, because they can shut down milk production, but luckily that joey has lived and is now a large pouch joey. Jessie will also be fitted with a GPS collar, so we're going to be tracking how she's surviving out there as part of the Australian National University's research project.
And we can see what part of the landscape they're using, whether they're moving into the burnt areas or they're searching for areas that still have some intact canopy. We physically go and check on the koalas every day for the first at least 2 weeks. And so the signals from the collars allow us to locate the koala in the tree, so we can track them to the exact tree that they're in.
I chose that particular tree because sometimes in captivity they can lose a lot of muscle strength, so they're not climbing a lot. So I wanted to pick a relatively thin tree and a relatively short tree so he would get up quite easily, and something that still had plenty of forks for him to be able to sit in, and a bit of epicormic growth just so he could hide amongst it so he felt a bit more comfortable. So that's why I picked that tree. I think it's really important to know how animals recover, and these koalas are an umbrella species for other species, so knowing how they use the landscape and how they cope and recover can be really crucial in how other species recover. I feel really positive, seeing these koalas be released and also how they're doing. Like, we're seeing a lot of movement and they're using the trees and we're seeing epicormic growth being eaten, so we feel really positive that they will recover, and there's new babies that are coming out, so it gives you a lot of hope for the future of the koalas. So yeah, it's great.